Hello everyone, I am Nu-Trix, and today we're talking about GeForce software, new synthesizer, well, software synthesizer, the Minimonsta 2. The Minimonsta 2 is, well, of course, the second version of the Minimonsta, and it's a recreation, I would say, a good recreation of a MINIMOOG Model D. It's like every recreation, it goes beyond what the original one did. The Minimonsta 1 software was already well received. It sounded good. It has a whole lot of features that made it a little bit different. Ultimately, it sounds good. We'll listen to it. You'll see how much warmth there is in it. Just to be sure you know what I'm talking about, GeForce software has been making classic, or recreation of classic vintage synthesizers for years and years and years. So they know what they're doing, and they're doing Oberheim stuff and all these. There's a lot of other virtual synthesizers they're mimicking. It just sounds warm and nice and round and rich, and you'll hear it's just like, they do it well, So why a second one? Why the two? Is there a difference? Is it better? I mean, I don't think the algorithm has changed that much for the sound. There's a couple new features. There's stuff that made it a lot more easier. And it's still a very, very powerful modulation matrix in it, or at least a very powerful modulation for doing stuff that the original Model D did not do. Let's actually look at what it does, how it looks, what's new about it. So I'm actually using Minimonsta 2 inside my favorite DAW, rolled in Zen Beats. You have this window, which is what we expect of any simulation, recreation, virtual version of a MINIMOOG Model D. You have what you expect, 3 oscillators, you've got the controller here with the modulation here. Actually, before doing that, let's just dive into some of the sounds. So I have this thing here. I've got this little song. I'm going to play the first one here. I'm going to press stop here, stop. And let's just really nice warm sound. And then I've got the drum, which is made by I have a snare made by Minimonsta. Just have these massive sound, which is really cool, and just the roundness, the warmth of it. It sounds good. That's one of the first reasons you would like to have something like that. It just sounds good. So let's go back, and you have what you expect. 3 oscillators. You've got the controller here with the modulation here. How you want to control them. You want to use the third one as an LFO or not. Which one you want to send as a source of modulation. The amount of modulation. The 3 sources, the 3 oscillators, basically the different shapes you want to have, the different pitch you want to use, then the volume of each of them, you want to turn it on or not. You have a noise source, you have a feedback, which is interesting. If you bring that really loud, it becomes, distorting. Well, actually, if you bring it down to 0, because it's not turned on. Turn it on. Play the same note again. Mostly noise at the beginning. So the overload, when you go too much feedback, it becomes difficult to hear as clean of a note. Of course, it's a feedback, but if you just bring it, I would say up to 6, you're gonna get a warmth. After 6, it becomes kind of wobbly. Without it. With it. So pretty cool, pretty warm and nice. I remember I had a MINIMOOG, which had 2 outputs and 1 input. So there was 2 different volume of outputs on it, and there was a, you could send back signal back into the filter, and I would take one of the output, I think the lower one in volume, and send it back in, and I would create that type of feedback. So it's something you would see on hardware devices, but and now you have it on the virtual one also to play with. You've got control here. What's new here? You've got these little control here. You have the filter type. There's like 2 shapes to it. The logic is that one of them, this one, cuts more the low frequency. So you're kind of losing, it's a filter, a ladder filter, which is what you expect. But when you use it too much with resonance, you kind of lose the bass. Whereas the other one is smoother and you will keep more of the bass. So it's kind of an alternative to the original one you have here. You also have a new thing. You have a 2 version of the envelope. You got the ADS. So attack, decay, sustain. And you go ADSR, then you get the full control over the 3 of them. Okay. If you go, okay, how does this work? What is the filter here? What is actually it is doing? You have the little gearbox on the bottom left. You click on the gear, you've got controls that are actually pretty interesting. Of course, you get the skin. You can change different looks of it. Dark wood and just a black one. I'm going to keep the black one for now. You can change the tail off. When you stop your song and there's still a note finishing. So this will say to the software, finish. Even if the stop information has stopped, it will still play the rest of the note. The buffer size, if you need to change it. The patch browser font scale. So when you go into the browser, if you find that the font is too small for your screen, you can bring it up. The modulation wheel sensitivity, you want to adapt it to your needs. Parameter display timer second. So when you hover your mouse over a button and you let it there for 4 seconds, you can actually put it less if you want. It will appear with information about, oh, that's this. So if you don't know what it is, it's going to be named what it is. The macro amount adjustment modifier. So if you want to control macro amount, so if you want to click on something and just changing in very, very, very precise values, you press on the right click, or you can actually decide Alt. So the button Alt on your keyboard or Control. So it's really a question of adapting it to your way of working. You have the same logic again, step VCO tune adjustment modifier. So you can actually change the VCO tuning, so the note, the frequency of the tuning, but per musical step. So instead of just going in the kind of analog way and just turn it into getting any type of value, if you want to keep into musical steps, you press on a button on your keys on the one you decide, again, Control or Command, right click or Alt, while you press that value. So you will change in step values instead of just all the values. So pretty interesting. Again, if you want to know more about this, if you're wondering how this works and you forget about anything, there's access to the manual right here. You click on it, it will open actually this window, and you get access to the whole thing. So, okay, I don't know, what's the filter panel, what it does. So it will show you where it is and explain each button. And let's say you find one like, I don't know, like this, the filter modulation switch. How does it work? Well, it activate or not, determines whether or not the filter cutoff is affected by the modulation as routed by the controller panel. So, oh, well, okay, let's go into control panel, click on it, brings you there. So really well laid out. So it's easy for you to go around. If this is linked to that part, it sends you back to the other part. So great place to start if you're kind of wondering how it works and you forget about things, because if you don't use it every day, you might forget about some of the features. Well, use that. That's one of the best places to get the right information. Now, look at the bottom right. There's information about the polyphony, which, again, is something you expect. If you have a software recreation of a hardware device, I mostly expect that we will go beyond the limit of the hardware. And that's the case with the Minimonsta II. You go beyond the monophonic approach. So you get a polyphonic approach. Actually, you get mono, legato, unison, or poly. So unison and poly would not exist on the real Model D because it was monophonic. It could not do more than that. And here, if you go unison or polyphony, well, the polyphony value changes. You can actually select the one you want. And this logic makes it so that it will also use more CPU as you go up. But honestly, I'm going to play you a song after that. I think I've got 9 tracks of Minimonsta playing, and I had no glitches or whatever. So it's not a demanding, it's optimized right, the right way. I'm running macOS 12.6.3, so Monterey, on a 2.8 gigahertz Intel Core i7 MacBook Pro from 2015. So 8 years old Mac, still running without any hiccups. So it's well made. You got these little buttons here. So you've got also the pan spread. So if you want to have this, it's going to be mostly interesting in the unison mode. Let's say we go. To create that wide sound, which is really cool. Okay, and the polyphonic, well, you understand that. I've got a very slow sound here. Actually, let's go into a little bit more in depth of controls. When you turn on the extend here, you have access to that top layer here. You've got modulation section here, the XLFO and the XADSR. Then you've got delay, reverb, performance. So the reverb and the delay, you know what it is. You have the amount, basically the balance if you want. You've got the feedback for the delay. And you've got the control over each of them. Let's say we'll take something that is faster. So we hear the delay, you want it to be faster. So that's the logic of the delay, you know what it is. We got some control here about how we want them to be at the same synced. Click on it, it will really be synced. If you just want it to be relevant, you can switch the value here. So you get these controls here, and then you've got the reverb. Let's turn this off. The reverb, pre-delay, size. You got presets, so you can actually load these presets. Slap back, say a small, medium, large, and huge. Here. Or none at all. And the performance is for the velocity and the aftertouch, where it's going to be a scent when you press it. But the real place in when it becomes special and complex and expand on what a real model D can do is this section. So the way you assign it to a destination, you go, okay, you click on the destination you want to control, and you see that at the top here it changes. It says, okay, filter emphasis. Click here, cutoff frequency. So every time you click on a different one, they all have this XLFO, each of them. So this is massive. And go cutoff frequency, and then you bring the amp up. Okay, I go emphasis, so a resonance, same logic. So now this one has a different LFO than this one. If I want to do something like change the oscillator pulse width here, I'm going to say this one here, and choose that. Now, there's too much stuff happening, but the logic is there. So each of the buttons that you have here can be controlled by its own XLFO. And the next one is an ADSR. You have the same logic for ADSRs, and the ADSRs here, attack, decay, you get attack, decay, a start, the slope, the envelope slope, the slope time, and the release. Logic is there, the power is there, and again, the sound is super warm and nice. You have a lot of these, very wide range of sound that comes with it, and some of them have, it sounds like arpeggiators. But there's no arpeggiator, so it's using the XLFO and the XADSR to create these rhythm that are basically modulation, not a step sequencer. Other thing, you have these 4 macros at the bottom here you can assign to what you want. So these can be assigned. This one is the LFO filter. This one is the oscillator 3 pitch. But one of the things that I found the most powerful in this is when I want to control a track. If you look on this track here, if I just play this one in solo, this controls the filter cutoff point. Okay, very simple. But when you want to add this, you go into automation. So I've got filter frequency, but if you go add new automation, you'll see that if you go Minimonsta 2, look, you have from 1 to 512 destination. Everything in this synth can be controlled by MIDI. Everything. So anything you do on it could be recorded, and playback is just massively powerful. You can assign, you see, for each of the control, like filter release, well, it can be, there's so many controls. It's at one point it's almost difficult to know which one you want to pick, because remember that you have these XLFO and XADSR. Each of them can be assigned to one, let's say, attack, decay, release. So all of these controls can be controlled in MIDI for all of these parameters. There's just the amount of control is just massively interesting, and could be also hard to figure out where is everything. So I was looking just for frequency cutoff point, and I was like, okay, where is it? Where is it? Until I found at one point, it was like, okay, it was filter frequency. But you're in filter. Oh, it is here. Here's the filter frequency on the 3rd page. So be careful to find, it's all there, but you'll have to find where it is, and just, it works. So that's it. That's the Minimonsta 2 from GeForce. It sounds amazing. If you're into a powerful Model D with a lot more control and features that you have in the original one, but still have that really warm analog sound, look into it. The Minimonsta 2 is really a good option. That's it. Stay safe, make more music. See you soon.